Want to make sure that you can see what I'm doing here tonight because we got a lot to talk about. Okay, well, I'm just gonna ramble on for a bit, let some people hopefully be joining in tonight live to watch and do some chatting, ask some questions. Again, my name is Tracy, and this is Little Garden on the Prairies. And I also want to welcome anybody coming over from our new community, Gardeners Growing Together. I'm hoping that some of the members from that community that have joined will be here tonight as well. Seed starting seems to be a real hot right now, obviously, for most of us here in North America and in the cooler growing zones like I am zone 3, 4, up to 7, where we have to wait for those frosty nights to pass and do a lot of our seed starting indoors so that we can have strong, healthy plants that have a good start before we take them outdoors and plant them in our garden. So yeah, so today, before we get rolling, if you are joining me here, I'd love to see you in the chat. Let me know where you are watching from. We'll get rolling right away. So I have was asked in our community, I believe it was Joanne was, asking me what kind of seed starting trays that I use, do I have any favorites? And I said, well, tonight on my live, I would, show what I use. And I made the trek out to my outdoor garden shed through the snow. It was very cold. We've gotten a ton of snow here this winter, and my husband has been really thoughtful in trying to keep a nice path for me out to the garden shed and out to my compost pile so that I can get out there all through the winter. So today I trudged out there to the garden shed and dug out some of my seed starting trays and just so I could show you what I like to use. And what I decided when I dug a lot of this stuff out is that I'm a pretty cheap on, the stuff that I actually use. I repurpose a lot of stuff. I don't spend a lot of money on seed starting trays and seed starting, you know, domes and all those fancy things you see online. You know, for instance, tonight we're just going to be planting up onions in these dollar store loaf pans. These are some of my favorite things to plant up seeds in because, they're nice and deep and, they fit on a tray really nicely. You can plant up 3 or 4 of these and set them on a tray and they are good to go. So once we get into it, I will show you how I'm going to be planting up some onions. I was going to go through a bunch of different tray ideas that I have here for starting seeds in that if you're looking for ideas of way you can, just find things around your house that you can plant stuff in. There's a lot of things you can use. And I have a whole pile of seeds that I collected from my flower pots. I don't know if you can see that, but I just go around to my petunias, my pansies, my zinnias, my um, cosmos in the fall when they're, before it freezes and when they're starting to dry out and go to seed. I just go around and chop off big chunks of them, shove them into a paper bag and label them. And then I just worry about, getting the seeds out of them in the spring. So I'm going to try and show you how I do that here tonight as well. What else are we going to do? And somebody also was asking me about lighting. What kind of lights do you recommend for seed starting indoors? So I'm gonna try to show you kind of what I got going on back here and what my setup is for lighting, and see what options people have. Again, there is unlimited lighting options online, and if you check in the chat tonight, oh, hello, Exploring Canada. Thank you for coming. shoveling 4 inches of snow today. Where are you again? Are you in Alberta? Can't remember. Yeah, it snowed here all day today again. Very nice, fluffy snow. But the problem is then we get the wind, and then the visibility is terrible. The roads are super, super icy right now because the winds have just been blowing and blowing, and all that nice fluffy snow is just polishing everything up. Oh, you're in Saskatchewan. Okay. Yeah, so we're probably getting the same weather. Very cold here in Saskatchewan, and you know, it's a it's the dead of winter and it's February, and that's just the way it is. So thank goodness we have all these indoor options to, start seeds and get ourselves all revved up for spring. And because it always comes, we get through the winter because we know spring is coming, and then things get very beautiful here in on the prairies. I think, for the most part, we have 3 really nice seasons. Our winters are pretty brutal, but that's why you just gotta find things to do indoors to keep you going. So, that's why I do hydroponic growing all winter. Back here, you'll see I have trying to do my hand the opposite. I have a let pot going, or an I do, I think. It's like a aero garden. So I got tomatoes going in there right now, and I had to kill off my cucumber here. It was dying, and my machine got clogged up and stopped working. So my cucumber was a fail. But I also have some hydroponic tomatoes. These I've been growing in water and just nutrient solution, and they're starting to bloom. So basically, there is no soil in hydroponics. Everything is just in nutrient water. So it's a really nice, clean, bug-free way of growing indoors. I don't like to have to grow in dirt in the wintertime. I just seem to, get all those little fungus gnats and stuff. And this is just a really clean way of growing indoors all winter. So you can check out, I have created actually a hydroponics course for beginners last fall that I've been promoting all winter, and it is selling like hotcakes on the Udemy website, which is great. And it's also available on my community website. So I'm going to give myself another plug here for anybody who hasn't joined in my online community. It is on the school app, and I pinned the link to that at the top of the chat, so you can see it there. And I've had members joining, every day, and everybody's starting to really get involved in the community. And we're chatting about seed starting, and we have people from all over North America, and everybody's got different growing zones and growing conditions and different size gardens. And some people are container gardeners, some people are just beginner gardeners, just coming on to learn, and it's just really exciting. And I'm really hoping that I can continue to promote it. Doing YouTube like this is great for me to create videos and create a library of gardening videos for people to watch whenever they want. And I'm really starting to enjoy just doing these lives with people. So, but the community is more, interactive, where everybody can come in and talk and share and ask questions. And I have I'm creating different modules based on different topics. So I'm really looking for people to come in and tell me what they want as well, and do give them what they want as well. Because sometimes I think I know what I people want to hear and see and learn about, but it's always good if people come in and interact and let us know what they like. So that's what's going on. So again, in the chat here and down in the description box, you will find the link to the Gardeners Growing Together community. I also created a list of seed starting essentials just based on some things that I have and a lot of things that are just available on Amazon. Not to say that those are the best ones to buy, but I just wanted to have somewhere where people could quickly click in and have a visual of different seed starting trays and different types of lighting, um, seed starting heat mats. And you probably can't see this, but I have one of these potting mats, which I love. They're super cheap and they kind of, it's great to have out in the garage or down in the basement here. It kind of contains all the dirt. So when you're really getting into that seed starting and you got the potting soil and the starting mix and all that stuff, this is a great thing. You can just spread out wherever you're working, and then it's really easy to clean it up. So you can check out that link to my idea list that I created on my Amazon storefront. The link is in the chat and down in the description box. And also, another part of my journey and why I am, building an online community and really trying to expand my what I'm doing here on YouTube. I'm part of a online digital marketing community, so I've joined the Builders Legacy, and they are just, teaching me so much about how to build an online business, how to build businesses around your passion and, learn how to master digital marketing because, online world is really the way of the future. And I'm hoping to be able to retire from my boring corporate 9 to 5 job sooner, build an income with my online businesses and just see where it goes, because in the 2 months that I've been in this program, I've learned so much, and it's got an amazing community that teaches you all the basics of marketing. It teaches you on mindset. It teaches you on how to promote on social media, go live. I've never done that in the 5 years I've been on YouTube, and now here I am doing it for you tonight and really enjoying it. So, if that is something you're interested in for your own personal growth, or if you want to get into the digital marketing world, then I have left a link to that as well, and you can find out more there. So, that's all my plugs for now, and I'm going to just start by showing you different seed starting trays that I have been using, and it's nothing too special. Like I said, for onions, I like to use just these loaf pans here. I bought 2 3 packs from Dollarama. I just cut some holes here just with this knife here, and I just pop a bunch of holes in it so it's got drainage. And then I did some here already ready to go. So I just got it full of my potting soil, and then the one without the holes, I just put it into so that I can bottom water these all throughout the next couple months. And that's it. It's pretty much set up and ready to go. So we're going to start up some onion seeds here right away. So some of the things that I like to use, I try to keep everything really close at hand here so that I don't have to leave the scene, but it's quite a disaster all the way around here. I can tell you that right now. So yeah, as far as, these kind of things that we all seem to collect a lot of, everything is packaged in plastic like this now. And, I always want to try to recycle it, but so many of these things are just, instant seed starting trays. You got your base here that you can put your soil and your seeds. You got your dome, it's all ready to go. So these kind of things are great for seed starting. Something like, different shapes. Every time I go to throw one away, or not throw one away, but recycle, put it in my recycling, I have a look at it and decide, should I use this for starting seeds? Because here you can see it's about 2 inches, maybe not 2 inches. So that one's not really deep enough. So unless you're going to be transplanting whatever you're starting in here fairly soon, something like this will work, but I wouldn't keep your seedlings in there too long. Again, another big container like this is awesome. It's got, a couple inches of depth there. can fill it up with your potting soil, your seed starting mix. Got your dome, put it under some lights, and that's a great tray that you can grow a lot in. I would probably poke some holes in the bottom so you got some drainage. And then this is probably something that, I do invest in, either buying it at a local nursery or greenhouse that you have, or getting it off of Amazon as these trays. This one's very shallow, so it works good to, set things in, such as this thing here, you could just set it right in there. So when you are watering, you can bottom water just by filling up the tray. You can fit a couple of these in there. That works great. And then there's these deeper ones. I like to use these for containers like something like these, so they don't kind of tip or fall over. So it's got a little bit more of a lip on it. It's about a 3-inch edge. So these kind of things, they're pretty cheap. You can buy expensive ones that are, really good that probably last for years and years, but you can pick these up fairly cheap. And I think I may have even bought these at the dollar store. I can't remember, but if you hit the Dollaramas and the dollar stores, probably in the next month or two, they get a lot of really good, you know, gardening stuff there that if you're looking to get into it, at a lower cost, I recommend, checking those out as well. Um, This is another thing that I, made a small investment in was a really large cell tray. This is 72 cells. And I bought this for starting my flowers because I usually grow a lot of flowers, try to get a lot of them going, and they're, pretty slow to grow. So I fill this up with my seed starting mix, and I do my petunias and pansies, and usually um, coleus. I like to try that as well. They're kind of the slower growing flowers that you need to start, fairly soon. I'm about 12 weeks from my last frost stage here in Zone 3, Saskatchewan. So you need to look at your zone, look at your last frost date, check your seeds, see when they should be started indoors, and count backwards on your calendar, and then just start planning out your seed starting from there. So right now for me, it's a lot of flowers, perennials. I try to start grasses, perennial grasses, because they never seem to make it through the winter here, even though they're perennials. But try to get a lot of that stuff going right now, and I use it to fill my pots and my planters, and flowers all around my yard. So this is a 72 cell, but like I say, I use it mostly for something that I need to grow a lot of. I don't, start tons of tomatoes and peppers because I have a fairly small garden. And so, I don't want, 72 tomato plants, um, unless, I want to give them to all my friends and family for Mother's Day or something, which I have done in the past. I'm usually giving away tomato plants to my friends, and they love it. So, I just try to keep it small because, you can really get carried away once you get started because these things need to be transplanted, and then you got to find bigger containers, and you got to have lighting. And I usually can, move most of my seedlings to a sunny window by, April. I'm lucky I have a very large window in my garage that faces kind of southeast. So I have a good space to get things going later in the summer or spring when the sun has got a lot more heat, and the days are getting longer. So for now, this is what's going to happen with my flowers. With these trays, usually when you buy them, comes, a dome like this. So it's usually a kind of a kit. I think Jiffy and Mackenzie. This is like a Mackenzie brand. You can pick these up again. at your greenhouse or, nurseries in your neighborhood, usually fairly cheap. Walmart will have them. Canadian Tire, these are all, in Canada, Canadian Tire has a great selection of seed starting stuff that comes out in the spring. So I usually hit up all those places and start, getting going on my seeds. And then as far as, what you're going to be using, soil, you want to use a seed starting mix for all these little seedlings and your flowers, such as just like this. So basically what you're getting here is pretty much just some peat moss and, vermiculite or perlite. So there's no fertilizer or any kind of nutrition in these. It's just simply a very light mix that is good for seeds to germinate in because there's not a lot of material in there. Seeds don't need any nutrition when they first are germinating because they are kind of self-sufficient inside their little seed there. They have enough to feed themselves and get their root system going without having to, you know, be absorb any fertilizer from the soil that they're in right away. So for anything that you are going to be starting in a small tray and then eventually transplanting into bigger containers, all you need to start them in is just some seed starting mix like this. Okay, so maybe what we'll do now is I'll just show you how I plant up my onions. And I have a method. It's not necessarily the best method, but when I'm talking about um, using a seed starting mix for seedlings that you are going to be eventually transplanting, I do it a little different for onions because once I plant them up in these containers, I just leave them in there right until it's time to transplant them out in the spring, late spring. So what I have here then is some actual potting mix. So just the standard um, kind of a potting soil like this. I picked this up locally at Early's Farm and Garden. You'll probably find it at any, Walmart, Canadian Tire, Lowe's, those kind of places will have these kind of potting soil. So this does have a little bit more to it. It's got some nutrition in it. It's got some fertilizer. Trying to think of what's in it. So some kind of a potting soil. Again, it's good if you are going to be planting your seedlings in something like this and they're going to stay there till they go outside. Because once they get growing, they're going to need some nutrition and something to feed off of. So what I've done here is I've potting mix into my container. Again, I've cut a bunch of holes with the utility knife so that there's drainage, and then just going to set it in this container like this. And then because these little seedlings are going to be germinating, and taking off, that's where I put my seed starting mix. So I put about an inch of the seed starting mix on the top of this so that the little seeds are in that lighter soil. They can germinate easier. And then once they start developing more roots and growing down, then they will eventually work their way into this potting soil. So this is kind of the method I use for a couple different things that I like to start in one container and avoid having to transplant because you don't want to have to transplant onions. You plant them fairly thick. They grow well. They don't mind being all crowded in here. And when it's time to give them a little trim, they start to grow. You just cut them down and just keep feeding them and growing them. And then by the time it's ready to plant them outside, you got a whole swath of them in one small space like this, and they're easy to just pull apart and start planting. So I'm just going to top this up with a bit of the potting soil, or the seed starting mix. So that these, I'll show you what I'm doing here. So again, I just topped it up with seed starting mix, which you can feel is just a lot lighter. You can make your own seed starting mix. I've done that too, where you just use peat moss and a bit of vermiculite. That's basically all that is. So if you're looking for a more cost efficient way, you can, and you're doing a whole bunch of seed starting, you can buy those two and just make your own. So today I'm going to be starting the Walla Walla and the what is this? The Ruby Ring. So these are kind of the two standard onions that I like to grow. They, are the large bulbing onion. They are good, to store away in the winter. So if you can get a good harvest of them, these are great for, winter storage. And these are long day onions. Just gonna take a drink. And if you live in a northern hemisphere like I do, further north like I am up in Canada, we have very long spring days and into the summer, so about 16 to 18 hours of daylight. And there are certain types of onions that want that long days of daylight to grow their bulbs effectively. And that's the type of lighting they prefer. There's also short day onions, so if you're further south into the states, closer to the Central America, you have shorter days of daylight. You want to look for those varieties that are suitable for short days. There's also an intermediate day onion, which is kind of, in the middle. And those will work here up north or wherever. So just something to think about when you're checking online, or if you're buying seeds online. I noticed, I'm just trying to read here, they don't mention it on the packaging as to whether this is a long day, short day. Sometimes online you get more information about the seeds, but just, doing my research, I know that these are suitable for zone 3 here in Saskatchewan. So we'll start off with the Ruby, and all you're doing is just sprinkling a light layer. You can be, a little, there's not a whole lot in here, so we're only going to get so many. They cost $1.99. You can do your own seeds saving on onions if you let them obviously go to seed in the fall and wait till they, self-seed. I've never tried that here. I don't even know if it stays warm enough in the fall before we get hit by frost that you could do that. But it's possible. If anybody knows, let me know in the chat, or let me know in the comments if you're watching the replay, if you've ever collected seeds from your onions in your garden. I'd like to know. So again, just very tiny, not tiny, but black seeds. So I'm just going to sprinkle them on the top here and do my best to spread them around so that we have pretty good even distribution around. And I'll use the whole package here in this one container. I'm just trying to see how many seeds it says we should get. It doesn't give you a number, but I'm going to guess there's probably 50, 60 seeds in this package. And, that's a lot of onions if you or have success with them. I plant my onions in very large containers. I do mostly container gardening. So I have these 30-gallon mineral tubs that we have after our cattle have licked them all out. They're big, giant plastic tubs. See in my videos that I always have these red tubs in my garden. They make a great gardening container. I just pop holes in the bottom, fill them up with different material at the bottom, and kind of fill them up with logs and leaves and cardboard and stuff to kind of fill them, so you're not, trying to fill them full with dirt, which can take a lot. And that's where I plant out my onions in the spring, and they've worked really well. I usually have 3 or 4 tubs of onions going in my containers. So that's all there is to it. I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit more of the seed starting mix on the top. I didn't get my watering can ready for the video, so I will give it a good spritz of water, probably with a spray bottle. And I'm just gonna cover them with just some kind of plastic just to keep the humidity in. I'll probably set them up on a tray and just use one of my domes. They don't need to go under the light right away until they have, started to germinate. So for most seedlings, they're okay to be in the dark. Just keep them moist, check them daily. And once they start to germinate and peek through the soil there, that's when you want to get them under the lights and so that you don't have leggy onions. And once that starts happening, that's when I just start bottom watering just by adding, an inch or so of water, just making sure that it's moist all the way to the top. And that, is kind of my first planting of indoor seedlings here where I am. So besides that and flowers, that's kind of what I'll be doing in the next week or two. And I think next it'll move on to probably peppers. So I'm just going to set that to the side. I will deal with that more later. But I wanted to just show you how I um, collect my seeds here. I was talking about how I go around in the fall. Um, oh, hello, Dana asked a question. Do I use heat pads? I don't use a heat pad for onions, but I guess you could. I do use them for my flowers. I got one here. Yeah, like there's nothing saying you can't use them. I guess, I use them wherever I can. So I will probably have a large tray of, like, say, my flower seeds going, and this will be sitting underneath. So you'll have your heating pad, you'll have your tray that you'll be, bottom watering, and then have your seedlings and their containers on top of that. And mine are very basic seedling mats. They're also in that Amazon list that I put in the chat and in the description, kind of the ones that I use here. I have two different brands. I've had this one for years. I think I got a second one last year. So, I mean, these things will last you for several years, and they're great for other things too, like if you're doing cuttings. Um, I'm not sure what other people use them for, but these don't have any temperature control. I know you can get more fancier ones that have temperature control and thermometers on them. So it's up to you. I don't worry about it too much. And once they germinate, get past that two-leaf stage and start of getting into their true leaf, then that's when I remove the heat mat from underneath. You don't want to keep it under there much longer after they have germinated. So that's kind of my, you know, what I use my heat mats with. So do you guys use heat mats for all your seed starting? Let me know. So yeah. Well, I guess okay. We'll do the seed starting or seed gathering, and then I'll get into lighting because I know that was something that people had been asking me about was all the different lighting. And I have to say I have a lot of grow lights, and I'm kind of, don't use a lot of them anymore. But I'm going to show you different options all the way from small to big, just to, you decide what the amount of space that you have and, where you need to set them up. Kind of makes, you know, that's that's how you decide what ones are going to work for you. So my little seed sifting system here is colander like this with larger holes, dollar store, sieve, with a lot finer holes, dollar store, and just put that on a piece of white paper like this so you can see your seeds, especially if you're doing petunias because they are very tiny little seeds. I'm going to try and show you. And this is a big money saver. If you have the space and time to start your flowers, man, it is so expensive buying flowers at the greenhouse. Like I I last year grew, probably 50% of my flowers myself. But I still end up going to the greenhouse because there's so many, you know, beautiful different flowers that you want to add to your pots if you're a flower gardener. And, I still spent well over $100 on a bunch of annuals, but, you know, we deserve to treat ourselves, right? So this is kind of what try to hold this up. I hope the lighting isn't screwing that up, but they're just pods. You can see that they're little pods, and that is where the petunia seeds are. Like I said, when I see it on the screen, it looks like it's you can't see it, but um, and then all I do is just, give it a little squeeze and kind of just grind it up with my fingers. And I can't really tell if there's even any seeds in it right now. You just kind of run it through the 3 layers of the sifter here. And then at the end, you should have a good batch of seeds. So you just go back to these pieces that I cut off in the fall and just take them apart, pop off these pods, and just say grind them with your thumbs. I can see little tiny seeds falling through. It's kind of hard to tell with all the chaff and stuff from the plants, but that's what running it through these 2 layers of sieves here will eventually, hopefully at the end, you end up with just seed. Sometimes, when I'm grabbing these in the fall, I don't really take note if I've got some good pods on there. So sometimes some of the things I grab are not full of any seed pods, but I think we should be good here. I always like to try and get as many white petunias as I can go because they they are nice to have in all your pots as a nice neutral color. And sometimes if you don't get to those greenhouses quick enough, they are sold out, fairly fast. Petunias are our favorite here on in zone 3 because they are super hardy. They can take a frost, so if you put them out too early and then you get one of those late frosts like we always do, they usually, come through okay and will last you into the fall really well. So I always have a good supply of petunias in my flower beds. Okay, so basically then I just do some shaking it from the top. That gets out all the big chunks. Do a little bit of shaking now through the very fine sieve. And then from there, you should be just left with petunia seeds. And I'm going to try to show you, and you probably won't. Basically, it just looks like a pile of pepper. Is all I have there. And again, you probably can't see that very well. But they're super, super tiny. And I mean, there's enough there to plant up, a whole tray of probably a dozen or 2 dozen white petunia seeds. So what I do from there, and I didn't have this ready, is just kind of, put these into an envelope or something, and again, mark them the colors. If you want to make sure you want to keep track of all your colors so that because sometimes they don't start blooming till you have them out in the pots. And then I will set them up in my trays. Again, mark them with, some markers, make sure I got my colors. And from there, you are ready to, start your petunias, pansies. I've got some zinnias, I got some cosmos in all these bags right now that I have to just do this method and get the seeds out. The zinnias, of course, are a little easier. They got a bigger seed. Um, Other flowers that I love to grow in my garden are nasturtiums and marigolds. Those are all good to have in the garden around your tomatoes, your potatoes, your carrots and cucumbers, all those kind of plants, squashes, stuff like that that tend to get attacked by pests. And of course, the cosmos and the zinnias, all them, bring in pollinators, the bees and the butterflies and all those great things that you want to come to your garden. So planting flowers is just as important, as the vegetables to have a successful garden. So um okay, so yeah, let's talk about lighting. You can see over here, I got this really weird light, and this was sent to me by by a supplier from Amazon seller. I'm an Amazon influencer, so I do a lot of product reviews for Amazon, and with that comes a lot of people, companies, brands contacting me to see if they can send me a product so I can test it out, do a review, and put it on the Amazon website. So, when it comes to gardening, I usually say yes to stuff they send me. This thing's a little bit weird. I don't know. It, it's it's okay, I guess, depending on. I've got it set up here against my Arrow Garden tomato just to give it more light because it's kind of outgrowing the light that's in this system. So, you could set this over top of a tray of seedlings, depending on your space. It would work in a small space. So yeah, so that's that. Not my favorite, for sure. Um, I will show you a couple of my favorites. This is something I bought years ago when I was just getting into gardening, and I liked this because it sits on a counter really easy. Sorry, I just can't plug all these things in tonight, but this is a Jiffy Hydro. I believe I got it off Amazon. I tried to find it to add it to my Amazon idea list, but I couldn't find it on there. But I know I've seen these in, like Canadian Tire or Walmart in their gardening section. So if you're looking for something small that you can just set up on a counter or on top of a shelf, this is good. And you could just raise your seedlings up to the height. I usually start them, a couple inches away from the light. So if I have a tray of small seedlings, I'll just build them up with some boxes or whatever you got, just to get them close to the light, and then you can slowly just move them down as they grow. So this is, you know, depending on your space, I recommend this one. That's it. Oh, I got such a mess here. I love these. These are Fiat brand grow lights that I think I bought them at Lowe's. So you can get them at Lowe's, you can get them on Amazon. I put these are in that um, idea list that I have in the description box and in the chat there, so you can go look at them. But I like these because you can connect them to each other. You see, I have a plug-in. So I have this plugged into that one, and then you only have to plug in one of the cords into a power source or a power bar, and then these both will run off of them, and you can easily attach them underneath a shelf. So you can see here I have a 2-foot shelf system right here, and that's exactly where I put them, is right underneath a shelf like that. You can easily attach them with some of those little plastic strapping things. I can't think what they're called right now, but you can easily attach two of them side by side like this, and you got a really good base of lighting. These shelves are something that you again just get from your hardware store, Lowe's, Walmart, and that you can adjust the height on them, and grow lights fit nicely underneath them. So Fiat brand, these are 2 feet. Like these a lot. Um, some of these things are like things that I started with when I first got into it, so I don't use them as much anymore. But this is a clamp like this works really good. I've used this a lot for different things because you can just clamp it to a shelf really easily. It's got two good lights here that you can walk around. So depending on the size of your plant, like I say, I've used these quite a bit, and keep this handy for whenever I need to just get some light on something. You can just set it up and clamp it to the table or shelf and just direct it where you want. So Again, another Amazon purchase. This one actually has a timer on it as well, which is nice to have because usually with seedlings, I run a 16-hour on, 8-hour off schedule. So all of my lights are hooked up to a timer bar. Should have added one of those to the list there because that's important. You don't want to have to worry about turning your lights on and off. So you can get one of those timer bars. You can set to, shut off after 16 hours, turn on every morning, and you don't have to worry about it. So back here, probably my most favorite and most used lights are these. This is also Fiat brand, but it's just an LED shop light. So it's not a grow light. It doesn't have the pink and blue. It's just a basic LED light. And they're 3 feet. They fit nicely on a shelving system like this. I just tie them to, what I do is I created kind of a chain system. So I have a chain with a little S hook, and then I can have them really low to start off with when my seedlings are just taking off. And then I can just adjust with a piece of chain and move the light up as needed. And right now I have some big plants under here. So that's why I have the lights really high. I have my hydroponic stuff going. So I would say, depending on how you want to set your system up, if you're going with the shelving system like this, which I think is awesome, if you have a space just to, because I mean you can do three layers of shelving and start a lot of seeds under there. Like usually by April, this is jam full of tomatoes and peppers and onions and all the other things you decide at the last minute you want to start growing. And I can get like 3 layers going and plug it into the timer. So I think there's like 6 or so plugins on the timer, so you can get a lot of lights going. And they're energy efficient. I'm touching them, they're not hot. And I find these LED shop lights work really good. So they don't have to be the full spectrum grow lights that cost a lot more money. I do have a grow tent with one of those big Mars Hydro, full spectrum lights that I use for my hydroponics. And again, in the spring, like now, I'm going to probably be starting, I don't know what's in there, but you can use that as well. So if you want to, I would say this is probably my favorite, the 2-foot and the 3-foot, LED lights that are pretty good, pretty easy to get. Something else, if you do AeroGardens or, systems like these, if you have one of those, it's probably one of the original AeroGardens out there. If you've heard, AeroGarden went out of business here, so they're no longer in business, but there's a lot of knockoff systems like this. So I do, my hydroponic growing. This is like a DWC system where you grow in nutrient water. It's got a little pump that goes. But these make great seed starters as well because you got this full spectrum light here. So basically, I just cover the surface. You got to put some water in there because the pump will be running. And this AeroGarden's on a timer, so I put a whole bunch of things under here under this light, and you can start seeds under here as well. So if you have one of these systems, it makes a good seed starter as well. All right. So I think that's all I have as far as lights. Oh, I have to show this one too because it's kind of funny. This was another free gift I got from a brand wanting me to promote this, and I'm like, I don't know. This looks like some kind of, I don't know, some kind of a space thing or something. I did try to use it on, some of my hydroponic plants, but again, maybe, it's, you can direct it. It's got these little blue and pink lights, so they're grow lights in there, and you can direct them. But yeah, it's on Amazon. There's so many grow lights on Amazon, and a lot of them you really Not sure if they're as efficient or effective or not. So again, that's an option that's out there. I have one more thing here. This is something that I also started off with that works good if you just have a small space, is these clamp lights. They got the clamp here that'll attach to different things and you can direct it. And these little grow light bulbs are super cheap. You can get them at Dollarama. I've picked up a lot of grow lights from there, and it gives kind of a pink light. So again, you can set up small area of seedlings under one of these as well. So as you can see, I have a lot of different grow light, and I really need to, when I was pulling all this stuff out tonight to show everybody, I was like, oh boy, I need to get myself organized and do some spring cleaning here in my seed starting space. But yeah, so I would say that, getting a setup with these kind of shelves um, is is probably the best. This is a 3 foot, this is a 2 foot, and I took out one of the shelves so that I have some big growing things like peppers and tomatoes that get growing pretty big before you get them outside, so you got some space there. So that's pretty much my how I do my seed starting. It's pretty basic. I'm always looking for ways to reuse pots and all the things that you get from greenhouses when you buy plants, these 2 4-inch pots when you're planting up your seedlings into bigger containers, and you got to find a bunch of containers. These I got from the Dollarama probably 3 years ago. These are, I think, it would be called a 2-inch pot. And yeah, I've used them for about 3 or 4 years now. They're, good. So those work. Then sometimes you buy herbs and different bigger plants at the greenhouse that come in these 4-inch pots. So those are good too. So when I get into my tomatoes starting, I hope that I can do another live with you guys, because I have a 1 cup method for tomatoes. I don't start them in something and then transplant them. I start them all in, a 4-inch solo cup is my favorite. And I'll be doing a video on that, hopefully, not till end of March, because we got a ways to go before we start tomatoes here on zone 3, because yeah, spring's still quite a ways away yet. So yeah, I try to save anything that I bring home from the greenhouse and reuse them 1 or 2 years for transplanting, especially the petunias and the pansies. I like to transplant them into, these 6 cell trays like this. You can buy these, fairly cheap in bulk on Amazon or at, your hardware stores and Lowe's and Walmart, Canadian Tire, all those places. So, I use them for a few years and then just recycle them. So you don't have to spend a lot on all those fancy trays and those ones that come with domes and built-in lights that I seen on Amazon. I don't I think those are probably not great. And the quality maybe not so good, and really, a lot of fluff that you don't need to have success, starting your seeds. So, just keep it simple. And if you're just start small with a few things. I'm really going to be promoting on my community. I'm going to give it another plug here. So if you're watching, please go to the link and join the community. I want everybody to be able to come in and talk gardening. And I will, where was I going with this? No, I want to, really encourage everybody who's just getting into gardening or who usually goes and buys everything at the greenhouse to try starting just maybe even one thing from seed, whether it's just a tomato or a pepper. You can take seeds from the peppers you buy in the grocery store and easily, start growing them easy. They're very easy to grow. And just try growing something yourself. One of these little tiny simple grow lights, you can use a lamp with a grow light bulb, and you can start your own seedlings yourself. And then, once the sun is getting a little hotter and more intense, you can do it also in, your windows. I just don't have that good enough light right now. I would just end up with leggy seedlings. So, um, I don't know if I've ever gotten into the details on the pink and blue lights, but yeah, I look it up and read it, and there is some benefit to the two colors, but I can't remember what they are. So, something you can Google and find out. Sorry, I'm not very good at the scientific part of gardening and actually being able to retain it and explain it so that people can understand it. But like I said, I have no problem getting success with just a plain old LED light to start everything, tomatoes, peppers. I use them for my hydroponics, and I think they work good. So, if you're looking to save some money, then just go with the LED lights. I wanted to ask a question here. If you can tell me, are there ads coming up during the live? If if anybody in the chat can tell me, are you getting ads popping up on the live? I'm just curious because um, I meant to shut that off. I forgot about that. That if you don't have the paid YouTube um, subscription to, have no ads, that they pop up. Um, YouTube puts them into my lives, and I meant to shut that off. So if you're watching and there's ads popping up and causing delays in the live, I apologize. I'll probably leave them on for the replays, but okay, yeah, they are. Okay. Yeah, I just find that annoying when you're watching a live, you know. Today's world, we don't want commercials. We're watching Netflix now and commercials pop up. It's like, what? Commercials? But anyway, so I'll try to remove those off of other lives just because it's less distracting. So I think, man, I've talked for an hour, so that's great. I am really enjoying these lives, and I hope that people find them helpful. I find it easier for me just to babble on and talk without having to, create videos and edit them, and they come out kind of boring. So um, I will maybe do another one next week. I'm not sure what on. If you guys have ideas and you want to see more, please go to the community and get involved. It's free. Let's just make sure I didn't say that before, but it's a free community to join. It's on the school app, and you go to that link that I have in the description box. The school app will pop up if you've never been there. It's kind of like, a Facebook account or Instagram. You'll have to just give your name and email, and then you'll pop right into my community. And the school, if you've ever been in the school platform, it is so full of communities. It's just an amazing platform that has just been in play for, I think, about 5 years, and it is the place to go for, getting into any kind of a community, whether it's gardening, whether it's, I don't know, there's all sorts on there, different educational groups, and there is, um, um, mindset groups and yoga groups and bicycle groups. Like, it's just any kind of niche or passion that people have. They're creating a community, and it is getting like, they have over 50,000 communities on there now, and 4 million views a day. And, it's just awesome. So I was really excited when I learned in my online business, Builder's Legacy, that I could create a community around something that I'm passionate about, that I just jumped into that, and it's just a nice extension off of my YouTube channel. And so, yeah, so again, go check out the community. Tell me what you'd like to see on the channel. Ask questions in there about gardening, and let's just keep going and get ready for season of 2025. So again, we're at 59 minutes and 47 seconds. So 1 hour is the cutoff. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you join in on the replay, please let me know in the comments um, what you're growing this year, where you're growing, and join that community. So thank you and good night.